Is going on, everybody? How's everybody doing this weekend, man? This is the final shot podcast of 2019. We appreciate the love and the support all year, man. We appreciate you guys coming, hanging out with us. We have another jam packed show in store for you guys. We greatly appreciate you guys coming out and hanging out with us. It's going to be amazing. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. First thing, before we even just dive in, I want to say 2019 has been an amazing year for the podcast. I greatly appreciate every single person who shows up every single week live, everybody that retweets, that follows, that supports the channel. Even if you don't like aren't actively in the chat every week, just you putting the view on the podcast. We greatly appreciate that so much. 2020 is going to be an even bigger and better year. We got a lot of things coming up, and I'm going to refocus and rededicate myself to the podcast in 2020. But we still greatly appreciate you guys just the support every week. You guys are amazing. The best crowd that we have here on YouTube. So let's go ahead and just dive right in. I will let the gentlemen here on the podcast let everybody know what's going on with them. We'll start with Mr. Staggerly as we do every single week, brother. How you feeling today? How was your Christmas as well, and what you been up to, brother?
Christmas was great. It was really fun to spend a lot of time with the family. Well, I wouldn't say I spent a lot of time with them. I've been hanging out in my office, and my wife's been home. She took 2 weeks off, so I'm like, oh, that sounds like a vacation for me. Um, I just finally got all the stuff to set up my PC, and I'm just kind of farting around not doing that. So I just
Got
got the dual monitor mount today, and I'm just trying to wrap up some games for the end of the year, clean up my backlog
backlog.
a little bit before I tear down my entire setup to redo it all. So, and then I realized today when I bought my new PC, I did not fucking put an optical drive in it.
Holy shit. Okay. Well,
Like, well,
well,
not like we need one in this age of like digital
yeah,
gaming and stuff, and everything we do is downloaded and
yeah.
stuff. But it would be nice because I still buy audio CDs to rip them, so I think I'm gonna buy external. So
Nice. Yeah, and they're fairly cheap anyway, so that'll
yeah,
work
like
out
30
perfectly.
bucks.
Yeah,
So
won't be
yeah.
too bad. So appreciate you once again every single week on the show, Stag man. Thank you so much for being here, man. A huge integral part of the show. This guy keeps me on my toes, on my ass about sending out them topics every week. Appreciate you, Stag, for for the
That's one way
support,
to put
brother.
it.
No, but no, he's a great guy, man. Love to have you on the show, brother. And then Centurion, man, what's going on with you, man? How was your Christmas and what you got cooking up, man, for the new year?
Oh man, Christmas was good. Well, we had to go see the in-laws. That's always a blast. But no, bought some games, hung out with my wife, spent some much-needed extra time with my wife. It was definitely what I needed for to kind of close out my year. And then I'm kind of right there with you. Coming 2020, I'm gonna start dedicating to my channel hardcore. I just wanted to spend some time with my family and
Hmm.
get everything all straightened out. And 2020, new year, new me. That
Yeah.
whole stuff that everybody says at the end of the year, and then come next year, it's like, oh, never mind. Yeah,
uh,
but yeah, no, I'm kind of like Stagger, man, just trying to play all the games I can, but I'm also making my backlog bigger. It's a
Hey, with all
never
these
ending
sales, it's so
circle.
difficult. These sales
Oh, I
happen at the
know, man.
wrong goddamn time, man. You start to try and clean it up,
and
and then
and then
boom,
you buy
sale.
games with the intent of playing them, and then you get wrapped up in a game you've been playing for years because you're like, oh, there's the holiday event that only happens for like 2 weeks, so I'm
Yeah,
gonna go play that for now.
yeah. It's tough. It's tough. This first world problems, everybody. If you're a gamer, you know exactly what we're talking about. And last but not least, Mister Fuzzy Belvedere, man, what's cooking up with you? How was your Christmas, and what's going on with you this week, man?
It was awesome. Family's here for the entire week. Wife and the kids. Well, wife being a teacher and everything. Everybody's home for the week, so it's been cool just lounging around the house. Kids got pretty much, I would say, 90% of the stuff they wanted, so they've been
Nice.
pretty happy and face forward in their phones and new toys and games and stuff. So yeah, it's been pretty good. I got some stuff I wanted as well, so
Okay.
everybody's been happy.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been great, and man, so much stuff going on in the gaming industry
Yeah.
this past week. So a lot to talk about today. Can't wait.
Absolutely. So let's dive right to fucking. We're not gonna wait no longer. Once again, hit the like button on your way in. Say hello in the chat. The chat is always popping. So anytime I go over these topics, it's always for you guys as well. So keep that chat going. Let us know what you guys want to hear. You can always throw questions in the chat as well. If I see them, I try my best to get to them. So we appreciate you guys' love and support once again here on the Shop Podcast. So let's dive in. So we're gonna start with the poll of the week as we usually do. This week's poll of the week actually it did extremely well. This was kind of a last minute thing. I thought about it. I'm like, you know what, this would be really fun to talk about. So if you missed it, follow me on Twitter. Do the poll of the week every single Monday. Hit me up. You'll be able to catch it there. So follow me on Twitter. And the actual topic was you have an unlimited budget to give one game that you think deserves a second chance. Which game do you use your budget on and why? Very, very, very fun topic. So I threw out some games essentially as options. Got Anthem. You know, we always sneak Anthem in every single week at some point. You got Rise, Killzone, and then others. So there was a lot of different options, but Rise won a convincingly 55% of the votes. So a little bit more than half of the votes went to Rise. Kind of surprising. 27% went to Anthem, 7% to Killzone, other was 10%. So gonna throw this question over to the chat as well as the panel here. So we're gonna start with you, Stag. I know you voted. I believe you voted on the actual poll. That'd be what, 5 weeks now in a row? 6 weeks you
It's
voted on the
like
poll?
400 or something. I'm not sure.
Maybe I'm losing track. Maybe I'm behind. But yeah. So what was your opinion on the poll, and what was your option and why'd you pick it?
I mean, originally I voted other and said I didn't really have any idea of what, but looking at it now and still not coming up with anything, I'm gonna go with Rise. I know it was the winner, but I've played the game. I've gone back to the game a couple times, just to clean up some achievements. And every time I go back to it, I'm impressed with the visuals. A little bit not impressed with the mechanics of the game, but I mean, it's good. I just feel like it could have been better.
Yeah.
And I really feel like they could maybe not go a different direction, but delve deeper into the lore of those times. Maybe add some more interesting combat, and with the next gen, like that game is a beautiful game.
Yeah,
just imagine how beautiful it would be next gen.
Oh my goodness.
So I would love to play another Rise game for sure.
Got it. So I agree. I think so. This is how I looked at it. So I think from a ground up standpoint, I think Rise probably would be the easiest because I feel like that has the least amount of work you do to make it like an incredibly good game. Like out of those options, I think you wouldn't have to do too much to Rise. Like you were just saying, change the mechanics, maybe dive more deep into the lore. The characters there, the graphics are there. I mean, you have the right setting. Nobody really does. I mean, we get some Rome here and there, Assassin's Creed, stuff like that, but that's not really a time period, a lot of games dive into. So I just think it has the least amount of problems out of those options. So I would agree. Although I think when I initially made the poll, I picked Anthem in my head, obviously because I feel like Anthem has the most potential out of the options that I chose. So, but I do agree with you as far as Rise, though. I think the least amount of work you'd have to put into Rise out of all of those options. So
I wouldn't change a lot of the mechanics, but maybe just add, I don't know what, but just add some variety to it. It just felt like you did a lot of the same shit over and over again.
Pretty repetitive at some points. And once again, that was an early launch game for the Xbox One. So, things have moved, come a long way since then. But great option there. So, Fuzz, we're going to go ahead and throw this one over to you, buddy. I know you voted. I saw you vote.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I think I was looking at my phone when your vote came through. But what out of those options, which one did you choose and why, brother?
It took me a while. Like originally I was going to go with the whole Anthem thing because there's a number of things that if they just tweak it a little, whether it's the loot drops, some of the the way the missions and stuff like that, chain throughout like a certain region or the travel, it would be so much better. Like if they had just focused on what Destiny did right and what Division did right between 1 and 2, Anthem would definitely be in a much better place than it is now. But it seems like they purposely put the blinders on and didn't want to look at what the competition did right or where they misstepped and had to correct stuff. They just wanted to go in, face forward, make their own mistakes, and learn from the hard way.
Disclaimer: we got to understand there was a lot of shit going on in management. With BioWare, with EA, there was a lot of shit going on. So we can't discredit that because
they should have at least
is in a flux. The game is going to come out half baked, just like it did, because all of this shit was going on. So go ahead and continue. I just wanted to throw that in if anybody listening didn't know.
I just want to also throw on that Fuzzy. They should have at least given us what was at the E3 trailer during the reveal. They didn't even give us that.
Yeah.
They should have used their own E3 trailer as an example of what to do.
Very true. But like what's his name from Kotaku, kind of Schreier, found all of or interviewed some of the people when they were going through all those problems. it's almost like all that game really needs to do is land in the lap of a more, I wouldn't say a more capable developer, but a developer that's stable, just stable. That's all they need to be, is stable.
We're
And I
talking
think
about
they got to
Anthem,
run
right?
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe
But
a publisher that doesn't demand so much.
That would be another thing.
Yeah.
Although the big thing that the publisher did right as far as their demands was put the flying mechanic back in the
Yes.
game. But
Yeah, the deadline
aside from
killed
that,
that
the
game, I
rest
think.
of it, yeah, the loot crates, the whole monetization stuff, that and just the haphazard schedule. Like, it sounds like they were working on it for 7 years, but 90% of the game was completed in the last 2 years or 18 months or something.
And it's
So,
storyboards for 6.5 years.
yeah,
Ridiculous.
it just
And you're also giving a developer who's known for single player experiences with like, let's look at Mass Effect's multiplayer.
yeah.
That stuff was very straightforward and to the point. It wasn't nothing on the scale of what Anthem was. So they didn't really have very much experience in multiplayer. And to take a developer that doesn't have multiplayer experience and be like, you're creating a looter shooter.
And they shoehorned. They pretty much made them make the game. They pretty much made
Yeah.
them make the game that we ended up getting. So go ahead, Fuzz. I don't want to cut you off.
No, but for a while I was going to just completely be in the Anthem camp. That's the one that needs the budget. But like a lot of people voted on this, I would say Rise, because that was the kind of the surprise game. Because when I first came to Xbox, I mainly came for
Forza.
Sunset. Forza and Sunset Overdrive. Like, those were the two things that stood out to me. Like, oh yeah, these are, it was like a system seller for me. But Rise was like, oh yeah, I'll pick that up because I like the movie 300. I like hack and slash stuff, and I was blown away. I didn't. The only complaint I ever really had about the game, I mean, yeah, they have repeating enemy, assets and things. I can get through that. The only thing I didn't like was the load times. But every game around that time was loading or taking a while to load. That one just seemed like it was more noticeable. But aside from that, it was, for me, an excellent game graphically. The slashing mechanics, as far as, even though it was repetitive, me chopping that guy's arm off or just kicking him in the throat, that stuff was awesome. And to put that into next generation, take all the kind of budget that you would have to make that a AAA title at that point, I think that would be another pillar for Xbox. If they could get that IP or take ownership of that from Crytek or something like that, that would be something worthwhile for them to build on at that point. But that's one that I would love to see a part 2. I would love to see an updated version of that for my Xbox Series X for next gen.
Absolutely. And we've said this throughout the years, but you've been on the podcast for a while now. We've talked about Rise 2, the potential for the next one over time, throughout E3s, before E3, after E3. So I know that's a game that a lot of people say just a couple tweaks here and there and the game will be excellent. So Centurion, we're going to wrap this topic up with you, brother. I know you've already chimed in a little bit, but out of the options, which ones you choose and why?
See, I'm right there with Fuzz, and sorry if I interjected a couple times there, Fuzz, because I'm right there with you, man. Like, when I saw that poll, by the way, speaking of the poll, I did vote. You should be doing the borders first.
Oh
yeah,
you did a
you did a poll on how to build a puzzle today. I want to do that. Anyways,
always the borders.
Always the borders. So, I'm right there with Fuzz. I really kind of was sitting there debating Anthem, Rise, and I picked Rise obviously because those were the options in front of me. But now that I really have put some thought into it on like what a title that deserves, like, I'm not saying Rise does not deserve a second shot, but something that deserves an unlimited budget with some really good story writers, give it to a different team. I don't care, but I'm really a big fan of the Mass Effect trilogy series. I even liked Andromeda, and there was a lot of potential for Andromeda, but because of how it was going, EA just completely canned the entire thing. But I mean, like, with next gen consoles coming, the worlds you could create, the more detail, just imagine how you could explore other planets, the Citadel, the whole thing, if they were just to go back to the original trilogy
or a prequel.
A prequel.
It would be
And
cool.
here's the one thing, basically, if EA is listening or anybody from EA, doubt it, who would want to listen to me, but they're like, well, where
Or
would you
that.
get the money for this? Oh, you know where you get the money? You go and remaster the first 3 games and you put them out in a single case with all the DLC and all that stuff, and you would probably make enough money to at least get the ball going on getting another
Well,
Mass Effect.
let's not act like EA doesn't need. They don't need the money. They
Dude,
don't need.
dude,
Yeah, they don't
they're
need
in
the
the
money at
food
all.
line. What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
Oh, they are.
They're in the food.
Oh, I mean, I look. Listen, I don't know the
Food
finances, but
bank.
EA's never been one to have a short budget. When they want to make a game, the game gets made essentially. So, but I mean, I understand the management issue that EA has, but I don't think the budgets be a problem.
I mean, they throw a ton of money at Madden every year, and it's still a
Well,
shitty game.
I mean, it's
So,
the only football game,
Well,
so it's
that's the other thing.
come
Now, that's
on,
the
you
only
can
thing,
play
like,
maximum football.
now that's the only thing. If you really think about how much money is really thrown at Madden, or whatever you want to call that game,
Madame.
Madame, you really got how much licensing they got to purchase to get those teams in there, the NFL logos, the players, because they're getting a cut because they're in the game, so they need to be getting a cut too. I'm pretty sure a lot of the budget for Madden is just wrapped up in licensing and paying people to be in the game.
Well, when you
Because
got the market cornered on football, you don't.
oh, dude, no. I will definitely say one thing for EA is their legal team, whoever draws up contracts and all that stuff, they are a pro.
Yeah.
Let's not even think about sports teams, but you guys somehow cornered the Star Wars franchise. If we all think about last gen, everybody and their grandmother was making
The
Star
Star
Wars
Wars game,
games.
yeah.
And now this gen, we're just like, we're stuck with EA giving us a game every 3 or 4 years.
But at least
Yeah.
Fallen Order was amazing. So
True,
Yeah.
true. So a lot
True.
of people like that one. True.
What game?
Fallen Order.
Oh,
Fallen
Jedi
Order.
Fallen
Yeah.
Order. Oh God, yeah, that game
Great
definitely
game.
is going to go down, and that game is going to be probably one of the titles that define the generation.
one of the best Star Wars games ever, and I've played multiples, and I
Nice.
haven't liked any of them.
Nice. Yeah, you see, that's coming from Stag, guys. A hard critic right there. So if Stag is saying he loved it, then there's some validity there. So you should probably go check it out yourself. But go ahead and finish up, Centurion.
Oh no, I'm just basically holding on to that, like the Mass Effect thing, and I actually like how Stagger definitely said a prequel because how would you make your? I think the only way you could actually make another Mass Effect game is one, you do a prequel, or two, you somehow make the end of Mass Effect 3 canon. In other words, you got to just basically somehow just move on and be like, yeah, we're going to pretend it didn't happen. Because that has happened in other games before.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with that. I mean, Mass Effect would
Alternate
be
universe.
or that.
Alternate timeline.
Yeah, you could do a lot of things with Mass Effect. I mean, Mass Effect is one of them franchises that at one point it was looked at the same way
Well,
we look at Halo, the same way we look at at one point Fallout. We look at top tier games, and you're right. I think Mass Effect would
so
be a great option.
now here's the thing, like a lot, because I understand that Mass Effect 3 had multiple endings, but let's look at Far Cry 5.
Mm-hmm.
On Far Cry New Dawn, it basically made every ending in Far Cry 5 not count except for one. And that's something that they would have to do with the Mass Effect trilogy is if they were to make a fourth game that basically carried on that story, they would have to figure out which ending that they were going to go with. And basically the other endings didn't happen.
Yeah, you could do that too. I'm sure there'd be critics on both sides of the fence, but I mean, with a franchise like that, to restart it and get people back interested in it, and I mean, obviously it's going to have a cult following. You got to do something sometimes a little radical. So sometimes you have to take a chance, and maybe that idea of kind of just rebooting everything, and maybe just forgetting about what happened at the end of 3 would be a great idea for the franchise. So we'll definitely see. Hopefully, Mass Effect shows up this next generation. I love to see a Mass Effect game on these new super powerful consoles. So let's go
I
ahead
guess
and
there's some rumors about them
it
wanting to
could
work
be.
on it.
It could be.
Yeah.
Could be. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. So shout out to everybody that's in here right now. See somebody in here new. Chloe and Crazy Gamer. Hi, how you doing? Shout out to Zinc. Everybody else is in here watching live. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys hit that like button while you're in here. Appreciate the love and support. That does help the podcast be seen by as many people as possible. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. And this would actually courtesy of Mr. Staggerilla. This topic was courtesy of Stag, so appreciate the assistance, Stag.
I
And
love all
this
the names I have.
Staggerilla, Stagger Lee, everything,
Yeah.
Unirilla, everything. But either way,
Asshole, you know.
that's with love, man. That's a yeah. But anyway, so the topic is how far can we push graphics before ultra realistic becomes? I put irrelevant. I know you initially worded the question a little bit differently, but essentially we're saying the same thing. Because think about this, guys, and this is something that I've actually had just a random kind of shower thought about. That as we push these consoles and they get better and better, and more powerful, we're gonna get to a point to where like, is it gonna plateau graphically, and then we're not really gonna be able to visually see the improvements, and that way, ultra realistic games, like what's gonna be the draw? At a certain point, maybe all these games are gonna get to a point to where they look about as good as they could possibly look. So I mean, that I don't know how far out that is. Maybe we're asking this question 50 years too soon, but it's something cool to think about. So we'll go ahead, and since it was your question, Stab, we're gonna start with you, brother. What do you think about that idea? How far you think in the future that's gonna be?
I mean, given where we're at right now with what PlayStation users seem to want, I don't know if that'll ever stop being a thing, to be honest. I mean, it seems to be really, there is definitely a large sect of gamers that want high fidelity graphics, but there's also a large sect of people that just want to play cartoony Nintendo stuff or just have fun playing Xbox games. I mean, me personally, I'm not super into high fidelity graphics. Like I was telling you, and I had a conversation on Twitter today with a couple people about it. Like, I like a little non-reality, or I guess I should say, I like fantasy in my gaming. Reality's hard enough, and I get enough of it, fucking 24 hours a day, except when I'm sleeping. I don't feel like I need it.
Yeah.
In my gaming. Now, don't get me wrong. I appreciate it. I think it's beautiful. It's just not necessarily something I think we need to keep pushing and striving. And it bothers me that it seems to be what's pushing the industry along, and it's not stories, it's not well written games, it's not gameplay as much as it is how fucking awesome did that look. Like, okay, that's great. I mean, do I really need to see the glint of your eye off my gun right before I shoot you as the sun's setting when the river's flowing and I can see the fish in the river? Probably fucking not. And like, how much additional budget is put towards games like that, and like not only drive up costs, but drive up the production time, which then lowers profitabilities, and stuff. It's just, at what point is everything just too fucking much?
Okay.
So
yeah, no, and that's a great question.
I'm more about just like what Baby Yaga said, gameplay and story over graphics. Don't get me wrong. I want good graphics. I don't want polygon shit, even though I still play polygon 8-bit, 16-bit games because I still enjoy those. But I just want to have fun and like not get mad at the game. No, woo, look, it looks beautiful, but like I just walked for 7 hours. So that's where I'm at.
It's a very, very, very tough question to answer. Like,
and I know a lot of gamers like are getting to the point where if it gets to the point where everything is just ultra high realistic, they're done.
Yeah, and I agree. I think, and like you said, I think there's a balance, and I hate the fact that is pushing the industry, because it is. Because I mean, look at what the narrative is, and I don't even want to bring this up because we're not talking about this at all. But the whole power thing and the fact that polygons are consistently being pushed, and that's what seems to be driving a lot of the chatter around the industry. But there's a balance, and I think there's enough people playing video games to where that it's never going to be irrelevant because people are going to want to see other shit. Anybody that owns a Nintendo, I can tell you their reason for owning Nintendo is definitely not graphics.
They want to have fun.
They want to have fun. So there's a large portion of gamers that don't really care about that. I know we sit in our little Twitter streets and we throw shots back and forth across the ports essentially at each other about graphics and numbers and megabytes and all this other shit. But at the end of the day, there's still a large group of people that don't care about that at all. But I get you, because there may be a point to where this shit plateaus, because I don't know how far technology is going to go. But I mean, at a point like this shit's all going to start looking the same. Like,
I mean, at what point is it so good that we just upload ourselves? I mean, like seriously, like it just feels like at some point, like graphics, computing power, all of that shit is moving towards. Who knows how far away this alternate reality is, but it's just like, are we just gonna like put ourselves in the game? You know?
Yeah. No,
Oh
absolutely.
shit! Code drop in the chat.
Oh shit.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Appreciate that. So yeah, there's a code drop in the chat. Wait a minute. Oh, Shonsu just dropped a code in the chat. Not sure what it is, but somebody grab it. Appreciate you, Shonsu. Mod of the year over there, man. Thank you so much. So, what up, PyCon as well? But I agree. It's a very very difficult conversation, Stack. So we're gonna throw this one over to you, Centurion. What do you think about the idea that graphically, are we gonna get to this point to where things are just gonna plateau and it's gonna be irrelevant as far as like ultra realism goes?
We're starting to get into a situation where I forget the theory that's being used, but it basically involves, the original theory with technology when it came to game consoles and other technology is every couple of years it doubles, like the amount of basically what you can get out of the silicon when it comes to creating a circuit and everything. And they're actually starting to debate, and that's the funny part. There's an article out right now that says that Phil Spencer and the guy over at Gearbox are debating on this whole theory that, he still believes that it's possible to double it. And Phil Spencer is starting to hold to the theory that, and other people are even starting to say that this theory is starting to actually kind of slow. And you're not going to be able to start doubling stuff as much as you could, because we're getting to a point where technology is plateauing. Yeah. I don't care how good the graphics are. Let's use Star Wars for reference. There's people in Star Wars that are in these movies that have been dead for umpteen years. We'll use Rogue One, for example. That moment when you see the guy, oh my God, I forget. He was the main bad guy in Rogue One, and he's talking to Governor Tarkin. The guy who played Governor Tarkin back in the 70s was like 80 years old. So there's no physical way that guy's still alive to this day. But through CG, they were able to put him in that movie. But you could still kind of tell just by looking at him that there wasn't something right about his face. So I don't really know how realistic you're going to be able to make things look. I'm with Stagger right now. I'm happy with the way games look. Yes, they could look a little better, but if we all notice with next gen consoles, they're not really concentrating fully on graphics. They're just trying to get a 4K resolution with 60 frames a second, but they're really concerning themselves with the playability of the game. They want faster loading times. Yep. They want to be able to put more AI on the screen. They're not basically trying to make graphics the end all be all of next generation. They're wanting to create experiences that haven't been seen in gaming ever.
Yeah.
So definitely, I'm with Stagger. I would prefer some people to come in that can create a good story, because you can throw as much money you want as graphics, but if the story isn't there, the graphics don't mean nothing. Because I'm one of those. I'm one of those people. If there isn't a story to get me into the game and enjoying the game and wanting to know more, I don't care how good the explosions are. I'm going to move on.
Well, I'm on both sides of the fence because sometimes I just like to jump on and kill shit. I don't necessarily need a story or just do whatever is going on in the game. I don't necessarily need a story for me personally, but I get what you're saying. I mean, obviously visually it's pleasing to the eyeball. The better the game looks, it's easier to watch, easier to play. You're more than likely going to have fun playing it. But yeah, I think it's tough. You're right. I mean, from a technical standpoint, we are going to hit a certain point. I don't know if it's now. I don't know if it's 20, 30, 40 years from now. But we may hit a point to where... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, our next graphical leap isn't going to be until 8K is a thing.
Yeah.
And 8K is so expensive.
So far off, yeah, it's not even
and I mean, like, and anybody can be like, oh, well, there's 8K televisions in the stores. Okay, if you want to spend literally the cost of a nice car on a television, cool. But there's no 8K
DVDs. There's no 8K streaming. There's no none of
that. Basically the stuff that involves 8K is so small that it's pointless.
A screensaver.
Well, yeah,
get a nice 8K screensaver, but either way, the market's not there yet. So I get what you're saying. So we're gonna throw this one over to Fuzz, man. What do you think, man? I know you heard us debate and talk about this, but what is your idea of that? What do you where are you at on that essentially?
Just as you think things are going to plateau, there's like a curveball thrown in. So as we envision it now, we can see that things are pretty darn close to reality now as far as visually. But then there'll be something like when we haven't really looked at ray tracing on console. I'm pretty sure there's a few fortunate few that have them on their PC and seeing what the reflections are like as far as in the games that they're playing currently. But when that becomes the norm, just like reflections in water. Like when we first started seeing reflections, was that 2 or 3 generations ago? As far as water
Mm-hmm.
reflections and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't necessarily mind blowing, but now we kind of all take it for granted. Yes, Sea of Thieves has excellent looking water, but there's going to be that next thing where it's like you're going to be able to fly through the clouds, or there'll be persistent weather and particle effects in every game, and it'll be like the norm.
Yeah.
Just kind of like the way when we looked at Watch Dogs when there was that unveiling. So I look forward to it, but it's just I kind of agree with Centurion. Until 8K TVs are the norm, I I don't foresee us really reaching that plateau anytime soon. But then by the time 8K TVs are the norm, there'll be 32K TVs or whatever that
Whoa,
next
whoa.
exponential number
Holy
winds up
shit! Yeah.
being.
There'll be little
So
dudes acting on my wall.
It'll just be a frame. It'll
Dude,
just be an empty frame of a TV.
I gotta have to fucking feed these motherfuckers and shit.
dude, I'm gonna say it. My mind will be blown the day, not VR or anything, when it's a Star Trek holodeck.
Yep.
You
yeah,
walk
yeah,
in and be
Fuck the
like,
dumb
computer
shit. Just give me
activated
a
program.
holodeck.
Exactly, holodeck.
yeah.
You never
Take
see some people
prostitution to
ever
a whole
again.
new level.
Oh my god.
But that's
Is
but
it
that's going
really
to be
cheating?
but that's going to be the thing. When once we get to that point where a holodeck is a reality,
Hmm.
then we would have, I guess, plateaued. But then there'll be whatever the next latest and greatest tech
Yeah.
is from there.
Dude,
But
oh my god, if
I
holodecks
kind
were
of
a
agree
thing,
with
imagine
Centurion
somebody
and
getting
Stag
shot.
on this. You definitely need gameplay, or at least have the game catch your attention enough to make it fun and enjoyable. Like graphics
Yeah.
are great. If you're doing, I hate using this term, but if you're playing a walking simulator, sure, graphics are fantastic. That's what you need because it's a walking simulator. It's not really a story at that point, but you know, there's a few games that have a style to them that I like that aren't ultra realistic. So I think we'll see it next gen. I think Hellblade 2 is going to be a very interesting title, not just because of its graphics, but because of its story. And then I think there'll be a lot of things on the PlayStation side that'll be the same way, where the graphic, what we were able to see on this generation
Hmm.
of consoles, is going to be looking like, was it the regular picture tube TVs compared to now?
The
So
CRT TVs.
yeah,
Hmm.
so I I'm dare I say it, a graphics whore when it comes to this stuff, but it's like, yeah, I've played, what was it, like Crackdown 3 and a few other games that aren't really geared to have any kind of realistic look to them, and had fun with them.
Yeah.
So it I think it just comes down to, as long as the game is fun to play, I'm gonna play it. But yeah, ultra realistic graphics would be nice. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Now, but can I hop in on
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
like to
Yeah.
throw it out there on ultra realistic graphics? Obviously, me and Stagger are on story. I've played online multiplayer with you and Fuzzy Blam.
Mhm.
Now, here's the only thing: graphics don't mean nothing, especially in multiplayer, if it's not a good game mechanic. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to play a game that was completely boring, no matter how good the graphics are, right?
Yeah. No.
True.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's where it just like graphics are important, but at the same time, it feels like the actual things that make a game worth playing, whether it's the game mechanics in a multiplayer or the story in a single player, always takes backseat to graphics.
So I kind of look at graphics as the pie in the window to get you in the door. So I don't know if you get the analogy, the pie in the window, the smell draws you in. That's what's going to draw you in initially, is the way the shit looks. Like if you see
That
you
new
walking through
puppy in the
Walmart,
window.
exactly, you walking through Walmart or you walking through Best Buy, you see a nice 4K TV, you see whatever game X game on it, and you're like, holy shit, that draws you in. Let me go to the gaming section, or let me bust on my phone and see what this game is about. So it's the pie in the window, it draws you in, but there's a lot more obviously that mean more to games. We just talked about all of those different things. So let's go ahead and just jump over to the next topic, man. This is great stuff today, man. Having a ball here. Once again, if you're in the chat, hit the like button. Appreciate all you guys for hanging out with us today. So this was another stag topic. So stag 2 for 2. 2 for 2 this week, baby. So this was actually really cool because I actually hadn't thought about this at all, and this is something that like I know Stag, since you being a streamer, this is extremely important. So the question was, do using guides and walkthroughs devalue the gaming experience? I know there's been some conversation about that, not a ton, but it's very interesting topic because in the day and age of social media, YouTube, where when I grew up as a kid, we didn't have any of that access. So the only thing I could go to was a Game Pro to get any help, or like or something like that to the grocery
Game
store.
Genies.
Exactly, or the Game Genie when it came out. If you can afford one, because not all of us could back then. We was sitting in the grocery store aisle for like 2 hours while mom was shopping, trying to figure out how to get past the next level. So either way, so in a day and age where all of this stuff is immediately, the first day the game comes out, there is a walkthrough of the entire game on YouTube. After 10 minutes after the game is out, there's a walkthrough of the game. So, be it the fact that things are that way, how do you think that or do you think that devalue games at all? Is it important? Is it not important at all? So, since it was your topic, we're going to start with you again on this one, Stat.
Well, there's lots of different ways to look at this, and I've had multiple discussions and really arguments with people who are on both sides of the fence. As an achievement hunter, I find them invaluable. I don't use them for every game. I love them, especially like True Achievements, favorite website for getting, walkthroughs, solutions, stuff like that. For achievements, I'm like, how the fuck do you do this? You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of achievements in games. I'm talking specifically achievements here, for guides and solutions and stuff like that. I know you can get them for other games and stuff, and that's great. But for me, I like to use them for that. I don't think it devalues the game.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are either going to be in the camp of I'm going to use that or I'm not going to use that. And there's a little middle ground of I'm having a hard time figuring out this certain thing. I'll go look and see if I can find a solution. A lot of people say it devalues the game. I don't understand how it devalues the game when the guide being out there doesn't change your ability to play it without the guide. And I've also heard arguments, well, it devalues the game in the sense of like developer profits. Like, whoa. I know achievement hunters who will not buy games if it doesn't have a guide. You know what I mean? Like, the more often a game has a guide or it's easy or the achievements are easy, they will fucking buy it.
How does that devalue developer profits? They just can't slap that guide and the developer doesn't make a dime.
And a lot of people think that, you shouldn't. I've heard the argument posed to me and like Bills and a few other people, Maka, like it's not fair that we get games pre-release and we do all the achievements and we make guides. Well, I don't make guides, but you know what I'm trying. They make guides, or we post up a video on our YouTube channel like the immediate second the game is released, or as soon as they tell us the embargo is over, and they're like, "That's not fair." So, is it not fair that we're putting this stuff up, or is it not fair that you don't get it first?
That's where I'm coming from. So I think that the easiest answer is that first of all, you don't have to watch anything I post. You have the option of watching my walkthrough. You don't have to watch anything that I post. You can buy the game, act like you've never seen anything that I posted, and just go play it yourself. How about you do that?
And it's also like it doesn't like, look, if you love getting achievements and you love 100% or you're getting 100% on a game or a platinum trophy, guides are your thing, and it doesn't devalue the experience. If that's your thing, it adds value to you because you're able to get that 100% or get that platinum trophy and be like, fuck yeah, I did that shit. Sure, a guide helps you, but so what?
Yeah.
So freaking what? I don't go to IKEA and buy a goddamn 400-piece bookcase and say, hey, thanks for no instructions. I got this. I don't know. It's just it's definitely, I can see all sides of the argument, but to say it devalues it or takes anything away from your experience when you don't have to use the things is fucking dumb.
That's tough.
Especially when these scores are stupid, arbitrary, meaningless numbers. Let's be fucking real. Gamer score means nothing.
Yeah, it's a pissing con.
I love it, but it means nothing.
It's literally a pissing con. So yeah, that's all it is just to show, hey, I played this game. It's not really. It's cosmetic at the very best cosmetic.
And I really think having videos of games, maybe not guides, but having walkthroughs, those kind of things. Maybe not having those, but having gameplay videos up when a game releases by multiple YouTubers or reviewers or just games or streamers is good for the consumers who might be like, I don't know about that game. I saw a commercial and I saw, the trailer and it showed a little bit of gameplay, but you can go watch these guys play for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 2 hours, 3 hours, what it is, and make a real decision on a game.
Yeah. No, it's a lot of benefits. So we're going to go ahead and throw this one over to you, Fuzz. So how do you feel about it, man? How do you feel about the idea of these walkthroughs, guides? Does it devalue gaming?
I'm fine with guides and walkthroughs and things. The devalue thing, I mean, if you're that elitist to the point where it's like, oh, I will never use one of those, it's like, okay, that's a you thing. That's fine. Just play the game. Don't worry about the rest of us that want to use the guides. It's like when they had cheat codes. It's like, if you don't want to use a cheat code, that's fine. The elitist side in me, yeah, all right, I'll try to wait until I beat the game and then try to use the cheat codes. But if it's a game where perfect example, Grand Theft Auto 5, I beat on PS3, I beat on PS4, I haven't beat it on Xbox, but I went straight to, what do you call them, the cheat codes, because it's like, I've already beat this game twice. I don't need to beat it the third time. So that I don't know. I look at them as being valuable for those that are looking for them. The fact that people are looking for them, there's a need for these things to be out there. No one's going to have, I mean, with GameStop dying basically, and a lot of these with these manuals, I used to collect a lot of the collector edition books and things like that, where it was like a printed guide from Prime Media and a couple other ones, and it's like, you can't get these now. Everything's online, which, okay, fine, it's online, but I like having them on the bookshelf. But I'll actually open them and look, and it's like, okay, I've already gone through this map. I can't find this collectible, or I can't find this particular weapon piece, or something like that. What is it? Ghost Recon. There were a couple of them pieces for some of the weapons, not Breakpoint, the one before the Wildlands. There were a couple of pieces that were bugged. And I don't care what anybody says, they must have been bugged, because I've gone through maps multiple times. If you've seen how many hours I put into Division or in Ghost Recon, I've probably covered every square inch of the entire map 60 times. I couldn't find a couple of the pieces to some of my weapons. So I'm like, this magazine has to be somewhere, or this scope has to be somewhere. And it's like, okay, the guide tells me it's here. All right, that's where it is. And I'm like, how did I miss that before? But having that guide stops me with my OCD from going completely batshit crazy trying to find pieces. So guides, things like that, the walkthroughs, I'm a fan of them. I try not to use them until I start getting mad. If I get mad to the point where it's like, I either got to put this game down or put the controller down. Yeah, it's YouTube time.
Yep.
And how did they figure out this puzzle? I think I did that for, I started to do it for the Frozen one, for Jedi, the Fallen Order. I remember you guys talking about you have to melt things, and I was like, I was just about ready to get to the guide, and I was like, wait a minute, how about if I push this and do, okay. And then I figured it out just as I went, and I was like, okay. And then I still wound up looking at the guide just to see if I had missed something else in that area. But they're great. Is it a little bit more rewarding if you figure out a puzzle yourself? Sure. But I just want to have fun with the game. If a game starts making me mad, the guides are a perfect thing to get you past that frustrating point before you rage quit or whatever. So I'm all for them.
It's also if I could interject real quick.
Yeah.
There's also that this is slightly different, but no different than the 7 hardback guide books I have over here on my bookshelves that I don't use. And you remember when we all used to buy every game had a fucking paper bound or hardback. Here's how you find everything in the game, and so if anything, YouTube and sites like True Achievements and Xbox 360 Achievements or whatever site you go to has really taken money away from an industry, because that shit's out there for free now. You used to have to go buy these books.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
If anything, you're saving money.
Yeah.
It actually did put a company out of business.
So let's go ahead and segue right into you then, Centurion, about the topic at hand.
All right. So now that's where I'm kind of I have 2 of these guides here, the actual books. We all remember Prima Games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Prima Games I've listened to a couple podcasts like on the Iron Lords where they've gotten some of the guys that have written books for Prima, and it was very detrimental to the game guide industry that YouTube and other sites were coming out with these digital guides, and now Prima is pretty much a digital website where everything is digital. And I never was a big fan of that because, you know, if I'm going to go on my phone or my computer, I'm just going to watch YouTube. So to me, the whole digital guide thing is like beyond me, because why would I rather, like, I'm not against reading. I enjoy reading, but I'm just saying I'm a visual person. I would rather see how somebody does it, and that's where YouTube comes in. But you know, here the guides that I have here, I bought with the games when the games came out, but I only referred to them when I needed their help. And the games I'm talking about are Fallout 4 and Skyrim, the remaster for Xbox One. The size of those guides is massive. You might as well be reading, dude. You might as well be
Dude,
reading,
the Gears of War
especially
books are
Skyrim
huge
one.
too.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, people like the Skyrim one breaks down how to create certain class of characters and what skills you should put into those characters to create them.
Crazy.
I mean, they're very, very detailed.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's where it just comes down to there's, you know, unless you lived in Skyrim from the day it came out to now, there's no really good way to know all the information in some of those games. So you need a guide because, you know, you went and played Skyrim and you kind of beat the main campaign, but the main campaign is only a tiny little slice of the game.
Oh yeah.
Fallout 4, you know, Fallout 4, it's so tiny if you just play the main campaign, but to explore and enjoy the world, you know, it's a whole nother thing. And that's where you need these books. And I remember, like, I would refer to the Fallout 4 one very heavily, especially when it came to knowing what kind of armor I wanted to put on my character and stuff like that, because you don't really know what the game has to offer. So you want to, you know, be able to read up on it. And I actually enjoy doing that. So I'm not against game guides. You know, if you want to read one from start to finish or go on to YouTube as soon as the game comes out, that's your thing. Cool. I do enjoy a challenge sometimes. Unless I'm really hung up and ready to throw the controller, I don't really refer to a guide. But here I go on, because you guys know I play Elder Scrolls Online.
Mm-hmm.
There's way too much stuff to know about Elder Scrolls Online, and the learning curve on that game is so steep because, I mean, there's real no instruction book. You just got to feel the game out or talk to people who have done it, and they'll tell you how to do it. There's times I go to YouTube all the time to find locations, do certain things in the game, because there's no real instruction manual, and you know, you could sit there all day long frustrated trying to figure it out, or you can just go on and learn from somebody. And I think that's kind of cool. You know, it's kind of like how education goes. You learn from someone else and then you spread that knowledge to somebody else, and it kind of perpetuates itself. And that's the one thing I love about actually going on and getting some of the info from the YouTubers out there to put this info at our disposal.
I agree 100%. I mean, I think it just boils down to an individuality thing. I mean, the type of games you play, some games don't require a guide. Some games you can get all the achievements for in goddamn 2 hours, 3 hours. So not every game requires that level of attention. It really boils down to how much you're into the game you're playing. If you really care that much about that game, yeah, I mean, you may go look at a guide. You may go to YouTube to help you get over the hump. But devalue is the wrong word, in my opinion. I don't think it devalues anything. I mean, if anything, it saved us from broken TVs, broken controllers, things like that. Because I mean, it's probably saved me a ton of money over time just popping into YouTube. We do it all the time, Fuzz, when we play the
Shit,
games
it
together.
costs me more money just buying more games because they have guides.
I mean, come on now. So I mean, let's realistically look at this as consumers.
It can also improve your experience.
Exactly.
Like I said, the Skyrim one, it could show you a way of building your character that you never thought of, and you're like, oh, I never thought about doing that.
Exactly. So it's a huge
Division,
benefit.
yeah.
Division, say all these games. I mean, all these games that are turning into games and services that are going to be the Divisions, the Destinies. You need shit like that, builds and all that kind of shit. You need kind of a general idea. I mean, unless you are some kind of a wizard and you understand exactly how everything works right off the bat, it's super, super beneficial. So I'm on everybody else's side here that obviously does not devalue gaming. I think it's more of a benefit, and I think it will continue to be so as the medium gets bigger. So let's go ahead and move.
Dude,
go
real
ahead.
quick though, and like mad props to these guys who figure this shit out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
for sure.
devs, the devs and the publishers don't just send you like, here, this is how you beat my game. You know, this
Oh,
is where
yeah.
everything's at. They're like, they got to figure this shit
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. This is
dude,
You know, so
how about
that's huge.
yeah.
how about the guys that go through and find some of these legendary stuff in Destiny? Like my friend's kid is a total Destiny fanatic. And one night he's like, "Hey, I want to get you guys this legendary weapon." And you're like, "Okay, why not?" All of a sudden, we're in over here jumping on these rocks, going through stuff on the map that you didn't even know was possible. And you're just like,
Mhm.
dude, how the hell do you
Yeah.
guys figure this stuff
Yeah.
out?
It's insane. And like you said, Stag, shout out to all them people that do that because that takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication. So once again, that was a great topic, man. We're going to wrap that thing up. So let's go ahead and move on to the last topic of the night. It's been a great show. Time has flew right the fuck by. So let's get to the last one. And this one actually was extremely like I just saw this maybe 10, 15 minutes before we went live, or maybe 20 minutes before we went live or so. And we talked about this kind of last week. So it's kind of piggybacking on what we talked about last week. So Sony announced CES 2020, which is going to be January 6th. And the headline that they put in the article was "Future is coming." So we talked about seeing a PS5. We talked about whether or not we was going to see it early or not. Sounds like sounds like we're going to see something. I mean, to me, Future is coming. I mean, PS5, that's your biggest product coming out next year. I mean, I don't think they're doing any more phones or computers, so I think the PS5 is the biggest thing Sony's making next year. So does that confirm that we're going to see this thing early or not, or does that change your opinion about their strategy? So we're going to start with you on this one, Centurion. So what do you think about that news, hearing that they're going to be at CES in about a week and a half, and that title, Future is coming? What do you think about that?
I think they had to do it. They, play Xbox already kind of did the mic drop moment at the VGAs and put the spotlight on Sony because, it's kind of like a rap battle at this point. One dude came out, spit his rhyme, dropped the mic, and now the whole crowd looks at the other guy and they're just like, and PlayStation has been very silent, in my opinion, since the VGAs. They've kind of dropped hey, look, you can put buttons on the back of your controller now. Great. Can we talk about the PS5?
No.
But that's where it's just like, I really don't blame them for doing this at all. They need to come out. Are they going to reveal specs? I don't know. You see, it's kind of like you show me yours, I'll show you mine. Well, Xbox has already shown what the Series X is going to look like and kind of what it's capable about. There is no definite specs whatsoever. I know people are running with this 12 teraflops thing. It could be true. There's a lot of signs that point it could be true. But the point is, Microsoft has not set a number yet. So at that point, I ain't going to hang my hat on anything. Just like we're hearing stuff from the PlayStation camp of anywhere from 8 teraflops, 9.2, all the one joke, the 72 teraflops that was running around on Nat Geo or Neo Geo. Or yeah, right. So it just comes down to, is PlayStation going to get ballsy enough to drop their specs? I don't know, because January is still a long time before December. And to really think about it, from at least what I've read, is right now the Series X is probably somewhere around that 12 teraflops mark, but they haven't done any overclocking or stuff like that, where they hop the console up even more. And they think that Microsoft is deliberately not doing that. So when the PS5 specs are dropped, they can actually kind of pivot and overclock it if necessary and do a few things to squeeze a little bit more power out of it. So definitely, I'm just seeing them just revealing the console and trying to one up Microsoft, but I don't really think they're going to put everything out there for everybody to know.
Yeah.
We'll probably get that more towards the developer conference that comes just before E3. Isn't that like in March and April?
I don't remember exactly. I have to do some research about that one, but I agree. I think the timeline is right, and I don't know if what Xbox did directly made Sony look at CES like, what, we may show it there, like we may want to do this sooner. We've all talked about that. Did they have any influence on Sony?
Well, you need a public event.
Yeah,
so right there, all of a sudden, there's a public
state
event.
of play. Come on.
Well, I mean,
just
throw out a
do a tweet.
15-minute YouTube video showing the console and be like, peace out.
You could do that. I mean, it worked with a tweet. They did it with a tweet.
Yeah.
So I mean, it could work.
Saves
So,
money.
Yeah, I mean, since you're talking Stag, let's go ahead and just throw this one over to you, brother. I mean,
Oh,
what
my
do you
bad.
think? No, you're good. You're good. So this is perfect segue, brother. Perfect segue. So
Um, I've said this before on the podcast. Sony beats to their own drum. I don't
yeah,
necessarily think that Xbox applied any extra pressure. They probably had a plan. CES is a perfect time to show new tech or what they've been working on.
yeah. And
They
before you
probably
continue with
will.
CES, the
Yeah,
big thing about CES is you guys have to understand if you're not reading between the lines, a lot of these like CES is a tech show.
yeah.
It's not about gaming at all. It's tech in general. Just big the next tech. So a lot of these YouTube influencers, a lot of these, companies that still video games are still tech. It still counts. It's the same
It's
arena.
still an electronic device.
Exactly. So no, absolutely.
Yeah.
So essentially,
Consumer electronics showcase, right?
exactly. So what I'm saying is that's still a big deal for Sony. Like a lot of people are going to be able to get their hands on this. There's going to be a ton of articles coming out if they do decide to show it. So they're still going to get a lot of press and publicity if they do decide to take that route at CS. But go ahead, Stat.
I mean, I think it like announcing it just was one of those like canon, fodder for the canon of YouTubers and Twitters and you know reviewers, critics, yada yada yada. But like, it's kind of almost expected they should be there, right? Like they
Yeah.
should be at E3, but we'll see how that goes. I mean, they're probably going to be there, but um, how much are they going to reveal? If they're going to reveal anything, obviously, I think they're going to reveal something. Did Xbox force their hand? I mean, maybe a little bit, but I honestly feel Sony just is so high up on that mountain that sure they look down and they're like, oh yeah, look at all those guys are doing, but they're still like, we got our thing. We're going to
Yeah.
do our thing. And I mean, the overclocking thing, like you guys were just saying about like, Xbox has left some stuff behind so they can just kind of see what Sony's doing so they can respond. And I don't really know that those companies really do a lot of that as much as people like to think that they do. I mean, I really think all three and the PC people. I mean, granted, we had Nvidia come out recently and say some shit about how their laptop still smashes the next gen or whatever. But I really feel like they all have their own business models and they're all about making profitability and following their timelines. Sure, in industries all the time, somebody does something that makes you fucking reevaluate your plan and your process and maybe change some things. But I think when you're Sony and you're as big on that mountain in the gaming industry as you are, you don't really need to change your plans for other companies because you've been top dog for. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. Nintendo is still top dog. They've always been top dog. They're always gonna make money. Always. Sony might be selling more hardware, but still, like that nostalgia factor pulls
It's a
Nintendo
bitch,
people
man. It
in
is a
so
bitch.
much more. They're like, you could
Yeah.
fucking give me like
Like Rick with a Nintendo logo.
Yep.
yeah, and people
Yep.
will be like, "That's the hot shit." I can't dock it into anything. I can't play with my friends, but fuck it, it's got 2 buttons and I can play
Now-
Mario.
To kind of hop in on that, Stagger, sorry, but
No, you're good.
even Jim Ryan came out that they have a lot of work ahead of them because it seems to be almost like a ritual where whoever was winning last gen is going to fall behind next gen.
But that hasn't happened.
That hasn't happened, but that's the only thing. Like PlayStation wants to maintain that mountaintop. They want to maintain
Oh, I think they're going to.
the momentum they already have. But it comes down to now. I don't know, man, because like I said, it's really weird how these consoles have gone back and forth over the years.
Well, one thing that I've noticed, and this has nothing to do exactly what we're talking about, this specific subject, and I agree completely with what Stag said about the way Sony views themselves in a gaming space, because if they put out, so I saw this, I watched this shit happen at the VGAs, right? Xbox announced Series X, right? It was trending for a few hours. It actually went away. The fucking what did Sony do? What did they show at they showed
the buttons.
Was it
the new button thingy?
No, I don't know.
Are
It
you talking
wasn't
about
that.
the new attachment?
It was something else Sony did, and it ended up just trending immediately. Like for the rest of the night. I can't remember exactly what happened. I have to kind of dig around on my memory, but I just feel like Sony does not have. I think we create a lot of that in our heads. I don't feel like Sony has that pressure that we all think they have, and I agree with Stag on that because I don't really feel like they need to make. really too many adjustments. Like I feel like they can come out, do what they need to do. I don't know how much pressure Xbox is actually putting on them. Maybe
No, and
internally they're like, you know what, maybe we need to rethink a couple things. But I agree with saying I don't really feel like they feel like that they have to really rush or push anything out at all.
dude, and I mean, all of us hardcore and slightly above casual gamers are already entrenched on where we want to be. The only people you're going to pull in is younger gamers, casuals, and I mean, and the only way you're going to pull in the casuals, in my opinion, is the Xbox model with Game Pass and sad, but the digital and stuff. Like the less stuff the consumer has to physically buy, I think is the model. And I also think a lot of people don't understand that Sony's moving in a direct. The industry, not just Sony, not just Microsoft, the industry is moving in a direction that is upsetting a lot of gamers. A lot of gamers don't like subscription-based stuff. A lot of gamers don't like digital.
Yeah.
Fucking deal with it, because that's where we're going. And if that's what's gonna like make you stop gaming because you don't quote unquote own your games, you don't own them now.
Yeah.
So most of the games I was wrong on the internet a while back, and I'll admit it. You got to have an online connection to play almost all your shit now.
Just
like
about.
even if it's a disc, sometimes you gotta have an internet connection for that shit to work.
Yeah.
Definitely all your digital stuff you do.
But honestly, we should all be used. We're connected to do
No,
everything
I'm just
in our
saying
daily
we're
life.
moving to those directions, and the industry is changing in front of our eyes, and we have no idea where it's going, other than like graphics are getting better, load times are going away, and we're going to get killer games. So we don't know all the other stuff behind the scenes.
Okay.
Well, look at PC. They got rid of discs pretty much a while ago. Like when you were talking about an optical drive and stuff.
Yeah, I want that
They
for
haven't
music
had optical.
burning,
they haven't really had optical drives in at least over the counter PCs or the pre-built stuff for a while.
Yeah, it wasn't actually an option when I was building my PC. That's why we fucking skipped it.
Yeah, they don't even. So go ahead, Fuzz.
Sorry, buddy.
No, you're good. Go ahead and piggyback off of what Stag was talking about.
No, I think with them making that announcement for CES 20, we talked about like we were saying earlier, we talked about on a previous episode, they're going to do something fairly recent. Like we figured before February, they're going to show something. Like I was already under the impression they were going to show probably the controller, since that's already been leaked as far as the patent and the overall design and some imagery or diagrams. I figured we were at least going to see that. Now, I think we might see the actual box of the PS5 now, more so than anything, considering that Xbox has showed theirs. They may not have wanted to bother even showing the box just yet, but maybe we'll see it now, since they're going to, have probably maybe a little bit bigger showing now at CES. Like they may have just did like they did for the PS4. I think they started by showing the DS4 first, but they didn't show the box. And then I think Xbox showed their box, and then it was like less than a couple of weeks later, then they showed what the PS4 was going to look like as far as design. So I think they were going to probably go with that same model, but now we'll probably see what the PS5 looks like, and let's hope it doesn't look like the urinal / spaceship / Dyson, whatever U-shaped thing that thing is. But it's great that they're going to be there. It's going to be all that people talk about when they do show it. Will we hear specs? Maybe we'll hear something as far as a teraflop, or maybe we'll hear that it's going to come with a 2 terabyte SSD or whatever the that new VMI or whatever setup they have. But yeah, I think we'll hear some minimal info beyond seeing a visual item at CES, and then it'll be up to Microsoft to unveil even more hardware specs or go into more detail on what the controller is going to be capable of with the new share button and so forth. So they'll play the cat and mouse game. All right, I'll like I think Centurion was saying earlier. It's like you show me yours before I show you mine, or a little bit at a time. It's like, okay, you remove this, we'll remove these curtains here, and then you show that, and we'll pull curtains back a little bit further, type of thing. So,
I could definitely see that being something, But I mean, at the end of the day, I ultimately think that I think that plans are plans, and I think at this point, this late in the game, I mean, they can make changes, but this far into the cycle, man, you announce these consoles are coming out next year for sure. Next year is a week away, less than a week away. So I mean, we're in the end game at this point. So it's not much that they can really do. I mean, they can move some marketing around and say, "Oh, we're not going to advertise this or say that about the console." But I think there's a good chance we get to at least see it. We're going to probably get some extremely generic terms: fastest console ever. The super fast loading time, some super regular lawyer type. You know what I'm saying? Advertising. I don't think we're going to get anything
Oh,
definite about the specs or anything like that until E3, until they can go in depth about those things. So, but I don't know. I mean, we'll definitely see. It's very interesting to see that they made that announcement though, that they're going to be there, and they titled it that, because I believe where there's smoke there's fire. So, and this is something that they've done in the past, so it's not irregular that they show it again this early. So,
I
really,
think
really,
they'll do something like when you were saying about specs there for a second. I think they'll do something similar to what Xbox did.
Yeah.
Xbox didn't say the fastest console
yeah.
on the market. They said the fastest Xbox.
Xbox, exactly. Super
So they
generic.
can come out and say, this is our fastest PlayStation ever. You know what I mean? That covers their ass.
50% faster loading time than the PS4.
And
Until both are out and we have specs, and we can be like, no, this one's fucking faster.
Yeah.
That's something I've actually heard them say, and I've been kind of holding back because I've seen people say Phil Spencer said most powerful, and I'm like, he said most powerful Xbox we've ever made.
Yeah.
I'm an Xbox fanatic, and I'm not even going to try to convince people that it's the most powerful console, because we don't know. We don't have any official numbers from anybody.
Yeah. All I know is we're all going to get some really cool games.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah,
that's
on all of it. Yeah. On all of it, we're all going to have fun, and people are still going to argue about stupid shit.
Yep. So I agree, everybody. So that
did you guys see that hair?
The blades of grass.
Right. I counted 7 more on the PlayStation.
We're not gonna have one of them situations. We're definitely not doing that. But either way, that's actually gonna go ahead and wrap up the show, everybody. So, man, we appreciate you. This is actually the last show of 2019, man. Appreciate you guys coming out. You guys did pack out the show. Appreciate you guys' love and support, man. Once again, guys, we're moving into 2020. Please, retweet, like, share, the podcast. Let everybody know, your friends, if you're into gaming, about what we do here on Saturdays, man. I feel like we have the best podcast on YouTube, point blank period. Any day of the week, you can count them down the line. So no shot to anybody else that does podcasts. I do watch other ones as well, but I feel like in my heart we put on the best show here. So you guys directly reflect that here in the chat. So let's go ahead and go around the panel. Everybody know what's going on with them. Any changes maybe coming up for 2020. So we're gonna start with you, Stag.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah, we're gonna start with you.
Nothing's really happening. I'm kind of on a streaming hiatus till I think I said till at least the 6th. I got to tear down my entire setup and reset up with my new PC, and then download software and figure all that shit out all over again. It's been nice having it all done, because it's there, unless I get an update and then my camera screws up and whatever. But now I got to redo fucking everything, and I'm honestly not looking forward to it. So, but until then, you can find me on Twitter, just talking bullshit and tweeting about stuff and things, and trying to not fucking get caught up in too many arguments. And then here on Saturdays with you guys. Appreciate it. It's been a great time being on the show, and I've really enjoyed. Thanks for inviting me to be here and making me a permanent podcast panel member.
Man.
Thing.
You add so much to the show, brother. So I appreciate you just as much as you appreciate being here, man. I don't think that was an accident that you I invited you on the show, man. You're amazing. You add so much here, so I appreciate you. And we got big things coming up in 2020. So you guys follow Stag, man. I know he's doing a hiatus right now, but as soon as he's back live streaming, hit him up. Go follow him on Twitch, man. Man puts on a good show, man. So appreciate you once again, Stag. We're gonna throw this thing over to Centurion, man. Let everybody know what's cooking up with you, what you got going for 2020. I know you kind of mentioned it earlier, before we got into the topics. You talked about some of the things you were looking to do, but let everybody know, kind of remind them what your plans are coming up for 2020.
Yeah, I went on hiatus like Stagger, spending time with the wife, just getting settled in at work, and getting ready to fire up the content drive there as of January. But you can always find me at Centurion1307 on Twitter, YouTube, and Xbox Live. Always feel free to hit me up. I'm a very sociable kind of person. I don't just ignore everybody. Also, I love podcasting. That's why I'm here with you, Blam, and the rest of you guys on Saturday. I also do TXR on Sunday, and I also do Saltiest Gaming Podcast on Thursday.
Awesome. So once again, appreciate you, man, Centurion, man, adding so much to the show. You were the newest member on the show, but man, you're amazing. Add so much knowledge to the podcast as well. So I appreciate you, man. Go follow Centurion as well on Twitter. Got a lot of great videos already in his library, so go check him out. You know, he got plenty of videos to keep you guys up to date till he puts up some new ones. So go check out what he's doing, man. Appreciate you once again. Here's to a big 2020. And last but not least, Mr. Barry Ross. Fuzzy Belvedere, man. Let everybody know what's cooking up with you in 2020, brother.
2020, definitely plan on doing a lot more Forza content or just Xbox, more centric Xbox content on my YouTube channel. It's been an awesome year talking games with you, as well as Stag and Centurion. You guys are awesome as far as, just shooting the shit on our hobbies. It's just awesome. It's been a ton of fun, and definitely looking forward to 2020. And man, 2020, it's going to be a heck of a ride.
Yeah.
2 new consoles, a lot of new games, so much stuff to dive throughout the year. So definitely looking forward to it. But you can find me on Twitter. Not as active as I once was, but I'll usually like or retweet some of the things I agree on, and make random comments every now and then. And got my Instagram, Fuzzy Belvedere. I'll try to post some more pics on there. Been taking a break, spend time with the family these past couple of weeks, but yeah, those are going to be my main pushes for 2020. More active on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. But man, thanks again, guys, for awesome year. Look forward to 2020, man. Can't wait.
Let's get it. Let's get it. And last but not least, your boy PTK Bland, man, across the board on everything. Xbox Live, on Twitter as well. Hit me up, man. And I just want to say a huge, as the founder of the show and just as, I guess, creator, whatever you want to call me, we do this thing as a group. And these 3 gentlemen that are with me, including Zalker as well and Jarhead, the other 2 members of the podcast officially, man, we really appreciate everything you guys do for us. I am speaking on their behalf, by the way, but we really, really do appreciate being on the show and you guys coming out, checking us out every single Saturday. You guys have been fucking amazing, and 2020 is going to be a big year. We got a lot to look forward to. I'm going to be changing everything as far as the show goes, man. I'm upgrading the production value. I'm really refocusing on what matters here on the podcast and just trying to give back more to you guys that are watching as well. Giveaways, merch, whatever you guys want. Always chime in, let me know. I love interaction, so that's going to be a big thing as well for 2020 for me personally. Trying to interact more, figure out ways to give back to you guys that are watching because I really, really do appreciate you guys and I want to show you guys that. So hit me up as well if you want a game. That's always fun. Xbox Live, PTK Bland. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up tonight. Hopefully everybody has a safe, amazing New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, whatever the case may be. Be safe. Do not drink and drive. Just go out and have fun with your family. You got to pass out on the couch and just do that, okay? So, but have a good time, man. We'll see you guys next decade. It's kind of crazy how I'm saying that. It's ridiculous, but we'll see you guys later, man. Same place, same time next week. We will have a guest on. I will let the cat out the bag. We're gonna have Boom on next week. So shout out to Boom.
Shit.
That's gonna be that's gonna be the first guest of 2020. So make sure you mark that on your calendar. Boom's gonna be on. It's been a minute since he's been on the show. It's been a long time, so it's gonna be a great show. We're gonna pack that damn thing out for sure. We're going to do this thing started off right for the 2020. So appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your evening, the rest of your weekend. We're out of here. Peace out, everybody.
Later.